that we gather here today to dedicate memorials and awards to him over 45 years ago is a testament to the community. Testament to the commitment we have in the city to never forget the sacrifices that have been made to allow us to enjoy the freedom we cherish so greatly. We will never forget, and we will never take for granted those who serve this great country. Thank you for all being a part of this special day. I'm now going to hand the mic over to Kevin Jarvis, the Director of Veteran Services.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here today. Thank God it's not raining anymore.
So far.
Like many of you, I'm friends with a lot of people here, relatives with some, and a lot of veterans. I'm a veteran just like a lot of you. We served and we knew some of these men that were killed in Vietnam and Korea. The majority of our men that were killed in Korea and Vietnam are buried right at the north end of the pond over here in section 22. And some of them are literally lined up. They were killed so close together in combat. So at this time, I want you to enjoy the concert. As soon as this concert's over, we're going to head right back to the ceremony site, have a ceremony. We have a great guest speaker with us today. You've probably seen him already in his uniform. He makes the rest of us look pretty shabby. But I really appreciate you being here. And at this time, I'd like to welcome United States Marine Corps Band, Marine Corps Base, Quantico, Virginia, Staff Sergeant Aaron Carpenter on the trumpet, Sergeant Tiffany Woda on the trumpet, Corporal Austin D'Agostino on the tuba, he's from Massachusetts, by the way, Lance Corporal Santiago Lopez on the trombone, and Lance Corporal John Tester playing the French horn. Good morning, welcome. And Semper Fidelis, Marines. Take it away, Staff Sergeant. You're in charge.
Staff Sergeant Aaron Carpenter. Unlike Corporal D'Agostino here, I am not a citizen of Louisiana originally, but I would like to thank you all for your hospitality and hosting us for this evening, and we're so glad that we could be up here to support this event and perform for you all. Our first piece, oh, I have my phone. Oh no, this is bad. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Our first piece was March John Philip Sousa's Semper Fidelis, which, again, is Latin for always faithful, and is the motto of the United States Marine Corps, and has become the official, unofficial march of the Marine Corps. If you were ever lucky enough to see any sort of ceremony that we do, we generally always end the ceremony with that march. And so, as such, it's one that we know relatively well. Second, obviously, that was American the Beautiful, just a great somber piece to put at any point. The third march, or the third piece, was also a march by John Philip Sousa called Ferris the Fair, and it's just another one of the standard Sousa marches that we have in our repertoire. The next piece that we're going to do is originally from the film We Were Soldiers, and it is a choral work that we've arranged for this ensemble called Mansions of the Lord. We hope you enjoy. Known as the March King for a reason. John Philip Sousa wrote many marches. And considering that John Philip Sousa was in charge of the Marine Band from the late 1897, I believe, until about 1917. We play a lot of his music. And this next piece is another one of Sousa's marches titled The Invincible Eagle. It's never fun whenever the arranger for the brass quartet decides to give the flute part to the trumpets. We only have 3 valves, they got a bunch of fingers, it's tricky. The next piece we would like to do, we can talk into the microphone, is the next piece we'd like to do tonight is God Bless America. As such, is for the setting and for where we are, I think it's one of the most important things to remember, that a lot of times that is still true. we do have other march composers that we enjoy. The next piece is written by E.E. Bagley and is titled National Emblem, which John Philip Sousa coincidentally coined one of the best marches I've ever heard. And in this march, there is a spot where you'll hear snippets of the national anthem. So we hope you enjoy E.E. Bagley's National Emblem. The next piece is entitled Saber and Spurs, which Sousa wrote for the American Cavalry, the 7th Cavalry in the western part of the country. So we hope you enjoy John Philip Sousa's Saber and Spurs. last piece this evening is dedicated to all the men and women who have served in all of the branches of the military. So when you hear the service song for you or your service, or the service of someone that you love, would you please, well, you're already standing, if you would please just step forward to be recognized. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about another round of applause for the U.S. Marine Corps Band? Keep up the good. Don't worry, you're going to hear them again. They'll be playing the national anthem during the ceremony and taps at the end of the ceremony.
All
So
right.
thank you very much for coming up. We really appreciate it. And you honor the 5,000 or more veterans buried in the cemetery, many in Marines, all branches of the service, and that's just one of our cemeteries. We have 5,000 more in Holy Cross. So thank you very much for participating. Again, if anybody needs to sit, we have a few extra chairs over here, so don't be shy.
Oh, I have a question. Do you know about...
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, again, please come to attention. Place your hands over your heart or render the appropriate salute as the Marine Corps Band plays our national anthem. Ready, two. Thank you, everyone, and thank you again to the Marine Corps Band. You sound great today. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to introduce your mayor, Gary Christensen, a man who really cares about this city, as was obviously shown when we had the World War II monument dedication in 2010, and again in 2018, the World War I monument dedication. And he spearheaded, along with Jim Cahill, today's monument dedication ceremony. The son of a Vietnam veteran, Jeff Christensen, please welcome your mayor, Gary Christensen.
With the declaration that all remaining COVID-19 restrictions would be lifted this weekend, it's only fitting that this Memorial Day ceremony would be our first official public gathering following that announcement. Many cities and towns like ours were in even at the height of the pandemic, knowing that we were determined to continue to show our gratitude to those who have fought for us. Some may wonder why this was made a priority during a time of crisis. And our response is, how can it not be? No matter the time we find ourselves living in, we must never lose sight of the fact that our ability to develop vaccines or protest peacefully or vote in an election is only made possible by those who have defended us time and time again. We are especially reminded of that today as we come together to recognize and pay tribute to Malden's own who served in Korea and Vietnam, including my dad, Jeff Christensen, who proudly served in the United States Navy. Now, it is one thing to make the decision to honor our veterans, but it's quite another to organize an event like this. And so at this time, I want to publicly thank several people for their hard work and collaboration, including Veteran Services Director Kevin Jarvis, Cemetery Director Jim Cahill, who personally got the Quantico Marine Corps Band to perform here this evening, Controller Chuck Ranigan, Police Chief Kevin Molas, and Kathleen Manning Hall from our office for going above and beyond during the past year in preparation for this special ceremony. So as we begin to return to our normal routines after COVID-19, let us never forget this day, and let us never forget these memorials, because they serve as a reminder to future generations of Malden's heroes who put their lives on the line to make sure that our freedom, values, and all America stands for will always remain protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I also want to thank Gary and all the city councilors for appropriating the money to my office so I can help our veterans or their widows and families make ends meet sometimes. It's not always easy, as well as bury them in these cemeteries when needed as well. So I just want to thank you. And thank you to the city councilors and state reps as well, Steve Altrino, who actually was out here with us one day, and he couldn't believe how many veterans were buried in here, including his dad. So I want to thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. You've seen him in his uniform already, and he's even more impressive when you get to talk to him. And also, I'd like to introduce Neil Anderson, Navy veteran. Of course, he served in the U.S. Navy during Vietnam. And I'd like to say a few words to you, too. I'm surrounded by Navy. I need some Marines over here.
Thank you.
The Navy gets the gravy, and the Army gets the beans. Well, listen, I just have a few words. I have no prepared remarks, but I wanted to be here today and tell you how honored I am to have served in the Navy during Vietnam, and how blessed I feel in being able to return home from the Navy and be able to continue to serve my country in government. And what a special treat it is for me to be here, recognizing that for those of us who served during these two conflicts, Korea and Vietnam, that we didn't get the greetings when we came home as the World War I and World War II servicemen did. They came home as heroes. And so for us as a city to be able to recognize the sacrifice that those of us who served gave, and particularly those of them who gave the ultimate sacrifice, who we are here to specially honor today, it's certainly fitting, and it's really touching for me to have a part in this ceremony. So as a Navy veteran, as the president of the Malden City Council, I'm honored to be able to be here, recognizing what a great thrill this is and what a great honor it is to recognize a group of service persons who haven't been recognized significantly enough in the past. And so we're doing that today. So how about a round of applause for that whole concept of recognizing that these two theaters of war deserve the kind of recognition that we're giving them here today. So without further ado, I do want to I'm going to ask you all to recognize as well the elected officials that are here, the elected officials that have helped, as Kevin Jarvis has mentioned, to support these activities by the money that we put into the budgets that allow this to happen. You know, we all have a role to play, and our role legislatively is to come up with the bucks. So let me begin in the hierarchy of our representative government here. And would you please acknowledge the presence of our State Senator Jason Lewis, State Representative Paul Donato, State Representative Steve Altrino, on the Malden City Council, City Councilor Craig Spatafora, Councilor at Large, Councilor at Large Steve Winslow, representing Ward 1, City Councilor Peg Crow, representing Ward 2, Councilor Paul Condon. Come on, Paul, put your hand up. A little higher. There we go. Representing Ward 4, Ryan O'Malley. Our host representative, our counselor, Councilor Barbara Murphy, Councilor Ward 5. I'll skip the guy from Ward 7 who happens to also be council president, but mention his name, Neil Anderson. We get a round of applause for that one. And council from Ward 8, J. Dean Sika. On the school committee, representing Ward 5, Adam Weldi is here. Michelle Leone from Ward 7. Michelle Bucci Luong. The mayor has corrected me to make sure that the Bucci family is represented. And then I've seen a number of former councilors here. I saw Dana Brown, who I know served in the city council. I saw Bob McCarthy, I know, who served in the city council. Dominic Famano, who served in the city council. Who have I missed? And for the rest of you important people whose names I haven't mentioned, would you please give yourselves a round of applause? Because we're all important here today, and thank you very much.
I gotta get people straight on my agenda next time. Remember, I was in the Marine Corps, so I wasn't one of these smart guys like they are in the Navy. And you're gonna meet one pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest speaker is Captain Earl, an underwater demolition team member during the Vietnam War. Earl was born in Hawaii, and his father was a career warrant officer in the U.S. Army. Growing up as an Army brat, he lived in France, New York, Germany, and Washington. Captain Kishida graduated from Yale University and was commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy through the Navy ROTC program. His first assignment was as a damage control officer aboard the Navy destroyer USS Rogers, which was based out of San Diego. After completion of a Westpac, or Western Pacific cruise, he volunteered for basic UDT SEAL BUDS training. He was then assigned to the Underwater Demolition Team 12, called UDT 12, where he served as platoon officer in charge in Vietnam. He was a diving officer and OIC of the UDT platoon also that was assigned to recover the Apollo 16 when it returned to Earth. And you've seen him out in the news, those scuba divers that go out there. That's what he did, his Navy SEALs. Neil, I'm not done yet. There's a lot more. Following active duty, he graduated from Harvard Business School and got reaffiliated with the Naval Reserve. His assignments have included various Naval Special Warfare staff and command assignments, including Navy Special Warfare Group 2, Commanding Officer of Navy Reserve SEAL Team 2, and Commander Joint Reserve Unit Iceland Defense Forces, one of our allies. Captain Yoshida is employed as a financial advisor and certified financial planner at Century Bank and Trust in Malden, Massachusetts. He is also co-chairman of the Meraki Defense Advisory Committee, which is a hybrid venture capital incubator firm, and an independent board member of BOA Biomedical, a medical technology firm developing rapid pathogen identification and treatments. He and his wife Sharon live in Rockport, Massachusetts. His personal interests include swimming, sailboat racing, and ski racing. But for over 30 years, he's also guided high school students in their application process to the U.S. Naval Academy. Earl's a life member of the Association of the U.S. Navy, perpetual member of the Military Order of World Wars, lifetime member of the UDT SEAL Association, and lifetime member of Military Officers Association. Please welcome, it's my pleasure to please welcome Captain Earl Kunio Kishida, United States Navy retired. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kevin. Good evening. And it's great to see that Mayor Christensen indeed has control of a lot of things here in Malden, including the weather.
That was awesome. Perfect.
Mayor Christensen and distinguished guests, friends, and family, thank you for this very high honor of having me share a few thoughts on the occasion of the dedication of your Korean War and Vietnam memorials. You know, for many citizens of the United States, Memorial Day signals the long weekend start to summer, sales at malls and barbecues. But many of us observe a moment of respectful remembrance for family, friends, and veterans who have passed away. Memorial Day is a special meaning to me. My mother died on a Memorial Day weekend, about a month after my wife and I, Sharon, were married. So each of us, in our private ways, have special recollections for Memorial Day. Memorial Day originally commemorated the Union and Confederate soldiers who gave their lives in the Civil War. After World War I, it included all servicemen and women who died while serving on active duty during wartime. These servicemen and women, like your memorialized Malden residents here, 17 from Korea, 19 from Vietnam, answered the call and gave their lives so that others might continue to live in a land where we have freedom of the press, religion, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, Memorial Day has an even broader reach as it covers the recent conflicts of Afghanistan and Iraq. I would offer that our remembrances should also embrace the many veterans who return from these conflicts with injuries, disabilities, exposures to toxic substances, and psychological stresses that contributed to their deaths. The heavy costs and emotional stress is disproportionately borne by the spouses, families, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, and friends of those who passed away. They too must be remembered and cared for because, like a military unit, we are all in this together. A nation, a community, is known by the men and women it produces. It is also known for the men and women that it honors. Thank you for coming to honor these citizens of Malden. By your presence here, you honor these fallen members of our community, who by standing on the front lines of freedom around the world have made America the beacon on the hill. The United States is a nation of great strengths, diversity, resources, and vision. And yes, there are some weaknesses. This nation is a composite of communities like Malden, and our collective future depends in part on how we marshal those skills and resources to complete the unfulfilled dreams and potentials of these young men and women whose names are on our war memorials and cemeteries around this nation. At these memorials, you may recall, perhaps, how you and others reach out and touch the names of the fallen. It's a direct link to an earlier time. What do you remember? You remember the boisterous yelling and playing in the afternoon sun, swimming at the beach, jostling for position in the barbecue line. You hear their youthful laughing, and maybe you traded some of your sea rations for the fruit cocktail. Each of those names has a face. It was not their choice to be inscribed in granite or cast in bronze. My neighbor in Rockport, Bill Pisano, has a Zen garden of raked gravel and stones in his yard. There are 5 stones representing his San Jose classmates, and they are all pointing skyward. 2 of them represent aviators who were killed in the skies over Vietnam. 2 represent infantrymen killed in battles along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And 1 represents a Buddhist monk who incinerated himself in protest. Many of you knew Captain Tom Hudner from Andover, who during the Korean War crash-landed his F-4U Corsair in December 1950 in an attempt to rescue his flight element leader, Ensign Jesse Brown, who had been hit by anti-aircraft fire while supporting the U.S. Marines at the Chosin Reservoir. Ensign Brown, the Navy's first black naval aviator, did not survive his injuries. Tom Hudner received the Congressional Medal of Honor duty. Captain Hudner died in November 2017 when the USS Thomas Hudner DDG-116 was commissioned here in Boston on December 1st, 2018. Jesse Brown's family was there. A lifelong bond forged by strength of character, not by the color of one's skin. A number of years ago, when the Vietnam Moving Wall came to Gloucester, I decided to look up the names of fallen friends from the Vietnam War. I was in 7th grade when Alex Blevins graduated from high school. He went on to be an Army officer like his father. His name is on panel 1. Spence Dry, a graduate of the Naval Academy, a teammate, and the last Navy SEAL killed during the Vietnam War, was on a classified mission in Haiphong Harbor in 1972. His father, a retired submariner Navy captain, spent the rest of his life trying to find out the circumstances of his son's death. Lieutenant Spence is on the last panel. And if you've ever been to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, you know that the memorial starts at the center of the V and it ends at the center of the V. This was a stunning moment for me. The hopes and dreams of promising, vibrant young men cut short by war. What can we each do to preserve their patriotic legacies? In the armed services and in the service of your communities, in answering the higher call to our nation, we all take an oath of office where we swear to uphold the Constitution and protect the country. This oath has a consistent theme for everyone, from enlisted men in the first rank to the President of the United States. This is a unifying oath. This is our strength and vision. And I quote, that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, unquote. And that is a powerful, unifying vision. Think of this like each of us as a small filament with strengths of various lengths. Many filaments twisted together form a line. These in turn are braided into a rope. So the rope is much stronger than a single filament. United, we are much stronger. We are much more flexible and can extend our reach beyond our own. Pull out a piece of U.S. currency. What is the motto? E pluribus unum, out of many, one. This is the collective vision and mission, a team, much like your fire team if you were in the infantry, your ship's or aircraft crew, your tank crew. You could not do this alone. You need and depend on your teammates to do their job. They, in turn, depend on you. Everyone is respected for their distinctive competence. This is our heritage from the military, a diversity of talents and energies that contribute to heroic deeds. I'd like to share two more thoughts in closing. One is a poem, Freedom's Source, by Father Dennis O'Brien, a former Marine sergeant and World War II veteran. It is the soldier, and by soldier I mean Marine, soldier, airman, and sailor. The soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. Were it not for the brave, there could be no land of the free. My other favorite passage comes from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations from early Rome. He became Rome's emperor in Common Era 161. And this goes back to our responsibility. This was originally in Latin, which I don't know, so I'll give you the English translation. Live not as if you had 10,000 years before you. Necessity is upon you. While you live, while you may, become good. Thank you, Mayor Christensen, Kevin Jarvis, distinguished guests, for honoring the fallen from the Korean War and Vietnam War. As I remarked earlier, a nation and your community is judged by the men and women it produces and by those who you honor. Thank you. God bless the city of Malden. God bless the United States of America.
Thank you very much, Captain Kishida. That was really something. Very proud to have met you today. Although we've been talking on the phone for the last few weeks, we feel like we know each other. Thank you. In June of 1950, North Korean forces, bolstered by the Soviets and Chinese communists, invaded the South. Korea, it seemed, it was like the next place for the Chinese and Soviets to conquer. On June 25th, the Koreans, bolstered by the Soviet and Chinese communist forces, invaded the South. And just recently, last year, we marked the 70th anniversary of that war. It has generated, I guess, the least amount of attention in contemporary history of any war. It's often called the Forgotten War. But today it's not forgotten. The 17 names of the men that died during the Korean War will soon be unveiled. Like was mentioned before by Neil, when the Vietnam veterans came home, they were called baby killers. And eventually they were told, don't even wear your uniform, because people at the airport would throw stuff at them, yell at them. It was very disgraceful. And I actually experienced that once over at MIT. I wasn't there. A friend of mine was a smart one. He was going to MIT, and I went to the party. Of course, I had the Marine Corps haircut, and then they started on me, and I was there about 10 minutes, and I just left. And I hadn't even gone to Vietnam. I was just on a ship off the coast in the Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to all of our modern-day warriors, some who are in the fire department and police department honor guards, and standing out among us, all around us. You know, the men and women that went to Vietnam, they went there with an honorable cause, to free people that had fled the South. I think over 1 million Catholics fled south, being persecuted because of their religion from the North. They were an ancient, honorable people who lived very simply for generations. We lost about 58,000 in Vietnam, more than that. But the South Vietnamese lost between 200 and 400,000. The count will probably never be known. Many of those men and women served alongside our veterans, our servicemen, and many of them were left behind to die. On a personal note, my mother's cousin, Esther Harrington, lived on Highland Avenue. Her parents came from Ireland around 1920, already had 2 or 3 kids, and then decided to have 7 or 8 more. So they outgrew the place on Highland Ave and moved to Medford on Central Ave. Esther watched her 5 brothers, some born in Ireland, some born here, join the military in World War II and go off fighting all over the world, all 5 of her brothers. So when they came home, she said, well, I'm going in the Army. So in 1948, Esther Harrington joined the Army from Medford. She went down to Fort Benning, met a handsome young guy, sergeant in the Army, who had been a World War II veteran and was still in the Army, and Korea was approaching. They got married, had 1 or 2 children, and Korea started. He was sent to Korea, and again, fought for our country. He had received the Bronze Star Medal for Valor in World War II in Europe, and again received the Bronze Star Medal for Valor in Korea. Came home, got out of the Army for a while. In the early 60s, living in Medford, I think Logan Avenue, if I'm correct, Butch and John, he joined the Army in early 1960. And in 1965, on November 17, 1965, he was killed at the Ia Drang Valley. And that song from We Were Soldiers that you heard earlier was in that movie with Mel Gibson, We Were Soldiers. They notified Esther that her husband died by taxi, a telegram sent by taxi. The military didn't even go with the 2 uniformed soldiers or officers to notify. Well, there was an uproar, and that never happened again after that battle. The Battle of Ia Drang was the first major battle during the Vietnam War. And I recommend, if you haven't seen that movie, watch it. It's really incredible, very powerful. So her husband, Bernard Creed, Sergeant First Class, died on November 17th. Esther got her telegram standing in the driveway with my cousin, Barry, who not long ago retired as a colonel in the United States Army. And she was left with 6 children. But you don't have to feel bad for Esther. She went on, she raised those kids, and in 1978 got her bachelor's degree, in 1980 got her master's degree. And 3 years ago, in 2018, she joined her husband in Arlington National Cemetery at the age of 91. So, my mother knew Esther. I never really knew her, but she was family. It's incredible, the statistics in Vietnam. The youngest American killed was PFC Dan Bullock, United States Marine Corps from North Carolina. He was an African American and was 15 years old when he was killed. There were 3 sets of fathers and sons who died in Vietnam. And unbelievably, there were 5 sets of brothers who died in Vietnam. Malden had quite a few heroes, and you see them in the booklet. I can't start reading them, you'll see what happens. But there were two young Marines that graduated Malden High School, John Jackie Muse and Peter Sullivan. They were buddies. And when they were in boot camp, before they got sent to Vietnam, they said, if one of us dies, the other will fire, have a service and have an honor guard 21-gun salute over their graves. On February 1967, Peter Sullivan was killed. Jackie Muse sent a check home to Malden High as a scholarship foundation for his buddy. 7 weeks later, Jackie Muse was killed in Vietnam. Seven weeks apart, these 2 buddies from Malden High were killed in Vietnam. Most of our men and women who died in Vietnam, well, the men that died in Vietnam, luckily none of the women did, but they served. They're buried in the cemetery, and the majority of those men that died in Korea and Vietnam are buried in Section 22. But others are spread throughout the cemetery. And Peter Sullivan's over by the gate on Main Street with his parents. He had no brothers and sisters. And Jackie's in Section 22. And you'll see inscribed on his gravestone, he was awarded the Navy Cross posthumously. The Navy Cross is our nation's 2nd highest honor after the Medal of Honor. A young Malden High graduate, out of high school less than 1 year, saved the majority of his platoon members after his position was overrun, and while fighting, literally with a handset in one hand, pistol in the other, directed artillery fire and the commanding officers in the rear as to where the enemy was located. And after all the reading I've done, I wouldn't doubt that Jackie Muse called in an airstrike on his own position to wipe out the enemy. Just amazing. At the end of the Vietnam War, things were crazy. I was in a ship in the Pacific. Never really did anything. But I was there in case, I guess. We were going in. But things happened so quickly. Within a week, they evacuated over 7,000 people just from the U.S. Embassy compound in Saigon. Non-stop helicopter flights. You've all seen the helicopters taken off out of the compound. 7,000, mostly Vietnamese refugees, owe their lives to the 50 Marines that were stationed at that embassy, as well as Army personnel, and those helicopter pilots that flew in while 16 North Vietnamese divisions were encircling Saigon, flew in to get these refugees out. Mostly Vietnamese, there were third country nationals, and it was just amazing. And we have one of those Marines who was on the second to last helicopter out of Vietnam standing here with us today, John Gillane from Medford. And I just want to say thank you, John. The first man who was killed in Vietnam lived in Stoneham, Mass. One of the last men killed in Vietnam was from Woburn, Charles McMahon, who served with John Gillane in Saigon. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'm going to read the names of all the men who died during the Korean War in Vietnam War. And after I read the names, we'll ring the bell for each veteran.
Detail, turn hook. Present, hook.
First Lieutenant Rodney A. Alfano. Seaman Everett A. Allen. Specialist 4th Class Jacob Babin. Staff Sergeant Edward Casaletto. PFC Kevin Crow. Master Sergeant Raymond Gignac. Lance Corporal David Gregoire. Specialist 4th Class David Hamilton. Major William Hurley. PFC John Muse. Lance Corporal Thomas Moore. Captain Thomas Morris. Captain Charles Robertson. PFC Samuel Rumson. First Lieutenant Anthony J. Stestito. Specialist 4th Class William J. Shortsleeves. Private 1st Class Peter M. Sullivan. Private 1st Class Paul Traynor. And the first Malden man to die in Vietnam, PFC John Waden. Corporal Alan J. Babineau. PFC John Borsetti. First Lieutenant Dexter Brown. First Lieutenant Hugo Carroza. Aviation Electronics Technician 3rd Class, Charles Chapman. Private George Cipriano. Electronics Tech 2nd Class, Lawrence Cole. Master Sergeant Bertram Emerson. Corporal Morton Handy. Corporal Francis Johnson. PFC Thomas King. PFC William McLaughlin. Private John Morrison. Captain Warren O'Brien. PFC William Olson. PFC Daniel Ritchie. And Master Sergeant Donald Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise and render the appropriate salute for the playing of taps in honor of all our American fallen heroes who have given their lives so we could live in freedom, especially our 36 men whose names are on these monuments behind us. Tonight, we're especially privileged to have taps performed by the United States Marine Corps Band. Marine Corps Band, please play taps. Ready, two. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I request that the family members, the Crow family, Sestito, other family members that are here, if they could, one or two of them could come up and help us in the unveiling of these monuments, we'd certainly appreciate it. Along with Neil Anderson, Navy veteran. Jeff Christensen, would you please come up? John Gillane, would you please come up? Ladies and gentlemen, Malden's own Vietnam War Memorial, Korean War Memorial, and a soldier in Korea, and the other depicting a soldier in Vietnam. And you'll see why they were placed exactly where they were to remember our fallen heroes.
Kathleen.
This is the Korean.
Bobby Chesson.
Detail, present, out!
Kat, 1 second, okay? I got someone else coming.
One second, we have one more coming to help.
Yes. All of us old guys here. We're all kids at one time, huh?
I want to get this.
Once we have the element, you drop it behind so everybody can see.
What's that?
You're gonna lift it up and drop it
Over the back.
behind.
One at a time?
Yeah, once you do those, and then we'll do the center portion.
Okay.
So if you want, maybe 1 foot, 1 or 2 people, and another person in the center section. Here we go. Get that on the staircase. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And now you can see why they were covered. These statues are beautiful. And you can thank Jim Cahill and Chuck Ranigan and Nick Pernice, who probably did most of the work, for putting this together so we could dedicate these monuments to our fallen heroes. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. But there's one thing I'd like to say. Thank you to all my volunteers that helped me, including Steve Winslow, Amy Friedman, Captain O'Leary in the fire department, and many others who were 90-degree heat or 45-degree weather were out there every day helping me. Thank you very much for coming, and I appreciate your patience, and I hope you enjoyed the Marine Corps Band. They were incredible. Thank you, everybody.